Okay, everybody, this is Emar Silbertooth. Welcome to another edition of the original Free Kick as we recap Atlanta United's road match against Philadelphia, as well as news and notes from the world of Major League Soccer. We're recording this on September 27th, 2021. So as always, if you want to follow everything that we do, head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, for primary site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go to our audio and video host on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcast, and others to look us up under the Sports Inquirer. And then finally, head to our social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the Sports Inquirer. Make sure you go in there and check out everything we have going on. Well, Atlanta United saw its three-match winning streak snapped on September 25th with a 1-0 loss at Philadelphia. Before we get to the specifics of that contest, here is Atlanta manager Gonzalo Pineda on the loss.
Well, I have to reflect on that, Felipe. Obviously, I always reflect first in myself if the preparation was good, if we prepared the players in any way, whether it's physical preparation or tactical preparation or mental preparation. So I have to go with my staff and reflect on what we did. But after that, I agree with you. It was a complete lack of intensity on and off the ball the first half. I felt that the second half was a little bit better. You can see that the players were a little bit more intense and they wanted to attack a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it wasn't good enough, and we lost a very, very important.
And we'll get to the statistics later on at the very end of our recap of the contest. But from the very beginning, you saw that Atlanta did not bring a large amount of energy into the contest. And in the fifth minute of action, Philadelphia got its first chance of the contest as Sergio Santos found himself behind Atlanta's back line and had a one-on-one with Atlanta goalkeeper Brad Guzan to make a shot, but Guzan made a save at point blank range. That was one of five first half saves by Guzan in the contest. Overall, Guzan made eight saves in the match, one shy of tying the club record. Here is Pineda on the efforts of Brad Guzan.
I felt he was massive. I think he did at least three very good saves, one in the first half and then a couple more in the second half. I feel like, Guzan is continuously performing at that level. But again, I like to have a goalkeeper like Guzan that can save us at any moment. But I would prefer if the opposite goalkeeper is the one that is receiving a lot of shots on goal and a lot of chances against, and he's the one is trying to save his team. So it's always football is always like that. Is which team is trying to create more chances today? I think that Philadelphia wanted to create more chances, and we didn't create enough.
And despite all of Philadelphia's offensive presence and pushing in that first half, it was scoreless after the first 45 minutes. Atlanta's best chance of the contest came later on towards the early portion of the second half in the 52nd minute when Marcelino Moreno was able to strike a shot just outside the penalty box that required a diving save from Philadelphia goalkeeper Andre Blake. But the continuity of Atlanta offensively just was not there. Joseph Martinez, unavailable due to a knee injury, was a big part of that situation. But here is Pineda on a lack of cohesion behind his three forwards or his frontline players in Moreno, Ezekiel Barco, and Luis Araujo.
I think today they were not sharp, and they know that they were not sharp, and they get a couple touches on the ball. They were not connecting to each other. Sometimes I have to reflect again in the tactics if that had something to do with them not being close enough to combine and to create chances from their passing. But also, I would like to see more intensity, especially just play and move, because many times we just want the ball into our feet, and the few times that we tried to stretch them in behind, the delivery wasn't good enough, and that was the game. For me, we need to hold on the ball a little bit better, not just those three, but in general the whole team. But making sure that those players have options. So we need runners in behind. We need our wingbacks more active, running in behind, creating more spaces, and that's our style. Obviously, if we have Joseph available for Wednesday, that's going to change our tactics. We know how Joseph plays and the importance of Joseph in the shape. We just need to combine better with our attacking front.
And then later on in the contest, in the 63rd minute, Guzan had to make another critical save in the contest to keep the score 0-0. Jack Elliott was able to move past several Atlanta defenders and got to the center of the penalty area and was able to make a save. Guzan was able to save his shot, which once again was in point blank range. But 8 minutes later, in the 71st minute, Kasper Przybyłko was able to put Philadelphia ahead 1-0 in the contest. He received a crossing pass from Jose Martinez and was able to gather the shot and put it behind Guzan for the lone goal of the contest. You look at the statistics, Philadelphia dominated. They outshot Atlanta in overall shots 18-6. Philadelphia had 9 shots on target in the contest compared to only 2 for Atlanta. Philadelphia had more corner kicks, 4-2, and possession. We've seen Atlanta over the past month and a half dominate this statistic where they have possession 60, 65%, even in the low 70s at times. Atlanta only led in possession percentage 51-49. So that means that they did not have the ball as much as they usually do, and they allowed the opponent to really dictate the pace from beginning to the end. I asked Gonzalo Pineda directly after the contest about the team being outshot.
Well, I think I said that before. Like we were not creating enough chances, we were not shooting enough. I have to reflect on that because I felt that at times in the second half, when we had possession of the ball, we get into the wide areas and didn't penetrate enough in higher positions, but also no one was inside the box. And that was the reason why I tried to bring Jackson Conway to have a reference inside the box. So when we get into those areas, we can have someone to finish the play. I think Philadelphia did a good job at being intense, at fighting for every second ball to try to put our defenders under pressure, gain some second balls there in that part of the field, and from there creating chances. I feel that credit to them. They had their style, they have their way of play, very specific, and they get a good result today.
And it just was a situation where they did not get the offensive continuity going at all. And I said Joseph Martinez was unavailable for the contest. He's dealing with the knee issue and was not in training too much the week before the contest. We were at the practice. You go to our site, you'll see the pressers, including the one with Gonzalo Pineda. And Martinez did not practice. He was unavailable. So he didn't practice. He didn't play. Just a very tough situation. But beyond that, though, even with Joseph's unavailability, it's still not a good effort by Atlanta at all in the contest. And that was echoed by Brad Guzan, goalkeeper and captain of Atlanta United, on the team's lack of effort in the contest.
I mean, listen, you can take the tactics out of it when you don't bring the intensity and the mentality that you need to compete in these games, especially on the road in MLS. And so that part is frustrating because we had such a great week last week in terms of results, in terms of performances, being on the front foot, being lively. And so then to come out the way we did, that part is frustrating. You know, I think you look at the first half, at one point, I think their back line was probably playing 15, 20 yards in our half. It's going to be impossible to try and get out of a space like that when there's 21 guys, 15 yards in our own half trying to build up. And we never once threatened behind. I think it was the 43rd minute when Miles played a direct ball over the top to Marcelino. Next thing you know, he's one-on-one in the box. I know that's not a chance. It's a half chance. But listen, I mean, you now all of a sudden threaten behind them and you force them to think, oh, wow, I can't just camp out inside their own half. And so we could talk about the tactics. We talk about the midfield. We could talk whatever. for me, it wasn't about that today, and that's why it's frustrating. It's down to us as players to make sure that we come in with the right mentality, the right energy that's needed for these games. Like I said, we talked about this being a playoff game. You can tell I'm pissed now, right? Like it's frustrating because I know we have the quality, I know we have the ability to do this, and then we come out and think that we're untouchable, and we're playing at generous and say 50%. That's not going to cut it in this league.
So you hear the emotions from Guzan about the lack of effort and just not a good effort at all, and you can have a bad effort. I mean, if you win the contest or even get a draw, especially on the road, you could have a terrible effort and get a result. That's okay, but when you have a bad effort and a bad result, that's not a good situation. And Atlanta is on a short week. They had that contest against Philadelphia on September 25th. They go right back to action on Wednesday, September 29th, on a Wednesday midweek when it hosts Inter Miami FC. Major importance in this contest because if you look at the standings, we're going to pull them up right now. That loss put Atlanta below the playoff line. We've seen Atlanta as high as 6th within the past few weeks. That loss combined with other results puts Atlanta in 8th place. They have 36 points on the season. Now the good news is that Atlanta is only 1 point out of 7th, and so DC United has 37 points as well. So the 6th and 7th place teams, Montreal and DC, each have 37 points. Orlando has 38 points as well as Philadelphia. So Atlanta's a win away from going from 8th to 4th if things work out for them. But it's a very crucial contest because not only is Atlanta fighting for their lives, Miami playoff lives, Miami sits at 10th place with 32 points and are coming off of a tough loss in their last contest. So this is a big situation for all parties involved. And here is Brad Guzan on the importance of that Miami contest.
The table.
Yeah, we've already talked about that. Listen, you put this game behind us. You know, we have to move on. We have to reflect on it. But we've got to be able to move on because the game Wednesday is huge, plain and simple. And it's easy to talk about it, but we need to make sure that come Wednesday night when we cross the white line, that we're ready for an absolute battle because they know that their playoff hopes are on the line. Ours are as well. The margins are so fine. And so we need to make sure that in all aspects of the game that we're ready to compete. And listen, I believe we will be. You know, sorry, Wings. But, you know, we need to make sure that we're ready to compete. And like I said, we talked about being, you know, understanding this tonight wasn't good enough or this afternoon wasn't good enough isn't acceptable. And we need to make sure we correct that.
Yeah, so I just pulled out the table, and if you look at it in the Eastern Conference, it's great. New England's already clinched a playoff spot. They have 62 points. They're the runaway leader for not only the Eastern Conference top record, but the top record in all of Major League Soccer. Nashville's not right there. Nashville's at 45 points in second place. But as I mentioned, if you look at 3rd through 8th, and we'll say 8th because Atlanta's in 8th place, 3rd place New York City FC has 39 points, only 3 points above Atlanta in 8th place. So these contests are very crucial for Atlanta to get. And as I mentioned, they have Miami coming up on the 29th. And they also have a contest next Saturday, which is October 2nd. And let me pull up that contest for you. That's when they visit Montreal. So these are two teams that are right in the playoff picture that Atlanta's fighting for. Miami's a little bit below them. And then you look at Montreal, who they face, as I mentioned, on October 2nd, right above them in the standings. So this is a very crucial week for Atlanta. And we'll be at practice, Lord willing, either tomorrow, which you're listening to this now, is September 28th, or later on in the week. So we'll be right there to give you a lot of content on things that are going on there. And that concludes this edition of the Original Free Kick. Thanks for listening to our broadcast. As always, head to the mothership, sportsinquirer.net, for all of your news and notes in sports. Also, go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Sports Inquirer. And then finally, subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. under the Sports Inquirer. Until next time, good fight, good night, be safe.